Ladies and gentlemen, there is a moment in every person's life when everything can shift, not gradually, but instantly, a moment when the lights turn on, a moment when excuses fall silent, a moment when the way you think changes so drastically that your results, your relationships, your reality begin to change with it. Today, I want to bring you to that moment, not through hype, not through motivation, but through truth. A truth that has the power to unlock the life you've been waiting to live. And it starts with this: you are not owed anything, but you are capable of everything. That mind. It right there is the key. The moment you stop waiting for the world to hand you something and start realizing that you are the author of your effort, your decisions, your reactions, everything changes. The people who break through barriers in life, they don't do it because they have more talent, more time, or more connections. They do it because they adopted a mindset of ownership. They don't say, "I have to." They say, "I get to." They don't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" They ask, "What can I build from this?" They don't look for comfort. They pursue growth. And the ones who grow are the ones who go. This mindset isn't flashy. It's not popular. It won't trend on social media because it's not about being seen. It's about becoming real. It's about waking up and deciding that your energy is your responsibility. Your focus is your responsibility. Your reaction to adversity is your responsibility. And when you fully accept that, life stops happening to you and starts happening through you. Let's be clear. This isn't about pretending everything is perfect. Life is hard. Challenges are real. But people with this mindset don't wait for the storm to stop. They learn to navigate in it. They stop chasing motivation and start building discipline. They show up when they don't feel like it. They choose growth over gossip, purpose over pride, and consistency over comfort. You are not owed anything, but you are capable of everything. This single realization has the power to uproot the entitlement that quietly holds so many people back from achieving greatness. We live in a world that constantly feeds the illusion that success is something that will eventually arrive, that recognition will automatically follow effort, and that opportunity should be handed over simply because we showed up. But the truth is far more empowering, because it reminds us that while the world doesn't owe us a thing, it also doesn't have the power to stop us. The ceiling isn't placed by others. It's built by our own mindset. When you believe you are owed something, you begin to wait. You wait for someone to notice you. You wait for your moment. You wait for ideal circumstances. But life doesn't reward waiting. It rewards movement. The moment you drop the weight of entitlement is the moment you pick up the responsibility for your future. That is when your life begins to shift. That is when you stop being a victim of circumstances and start becoming the architect of your progress. Ownership replaces waiting. Drive replaces frustration. And hunger replaces hesitation. Capability is not measured by titles, background, or even the approval of others. It is rooted in your willingness to try, fail, grow, and try again. When you operate from the mindset that you are capable of everything, you begin to take bigger steps. You start asking better questions. You stop playing small because you realize your potential isn't limited by what's given to you. It's expanded by what you go after. The moment you realize that your ability to learn, to adapt, to persist, to lead, and to overcome lies fully within your control, your excuses begin to die and your possibilities begin to multiply. This mindset doesn't mean life will be fair. It won't be. There will be obstacles, delays, rejection, and resistance. But none of those are indicators of what you're worth. They are only tests of how willing you are to grow. The people who win long-term aren't the ones who had the best starting point. They're the ones who refused to believe they were limited by it. They didn't wait for the world to hand them opportunity. They created their own. They didn't hope to be seen. They showed up with consistency and let their character speak louder than their comfort. You are capable of everything, but only if you're willing to work like nothing is guaranteed. That's the paradox of power. The moment you stop expecting things to be easy is the moment you get strong enough to handle the hard things. That's when your mindset shifts from passive hope to active purpose. You stop counting what you lack and start using what you've got. You stop comparing your journey to others and start building your own path with confidence, resilience, and relentless execution. Ownership is the foundation of transformation. Until you take complete and unapologetic responsibility for your life, your actions, your reactions, your growth, your failures, nothing truly changes. Most people are living in a passive state, letting circumstances dictate their emotions and outcomes. They wait for things to improve. They point fingers. They blame their environment, their upbringing, their boss, their luck, or the timing. But nothing evolves until you do. Ownership is not about fault. It's about control. It's not about guilt. It's about power. When you take ownership, you reclaim the steering wheel of your own future. The truth is, most people aren't stuck because they lack opportunity. They're stuck because they keep outsourcing their responsibility. It's easier to say, I couldn't because of them, or it didn't happen because of that, than to look in the mirror and say, I didn't do what needed to be done. But the most powerful shift in your life happens the moment you stop waiting for someone else to change, and you decide you are the change. That's where growth begins. That's where results are born, not in conditions, but in choice. Taking ownership is not always glamorous. It's raw, it's real. It forces you to confront your habits, your mindset, and your limitations. But that confrontation is exactly what makes it powerful. It's where transformation starts. It's what separates the person who keeps repeating the same patterns from the one who rises above them. Because when you take responsibility, you're no longer reacting. You're building. You're no longer surviving. You're leading. And that shift doesn't just affect your outcomes. It defines your identity. Think of the most successful, resilient people you've ever met. They don't play the victim. They may get knocked down, but they don't stay there waiting for someone to lift them up. They ask hard questions. They take hard actions. They don't expect life to hand them fairness. They build the strength to move forward despite the unfair. That is what ownership looks like. It's not loud. It doesn't beg for sympathy. It quietly says, this is my life, and I am responsible for what I do with it. Ownership demands that you become self-aware. It forces you to evaluate not just what's happening around you, but what's happening within you. You start asking, what part did I play in this? Instead of why is this happening to me? That one question shifts your focus from powerless to powerful. You begin to find solutions where others only see obstacles. You begin to develop resilience in places where you used to retreat. Every failure becomes a lesson. Every delay becomes a setup. Every challenge becomes a tool, because ownership changes the lens through which you see the world. Once you adopt ownership, excuses lose their power. You stop negotiating with your potential. You stop needing external motivation to move forward. You wake up with intention. You push through with conviction. And you lead your life, not with fear, but with purpose, clarity, and responsibility. Growth begins where comfort ends. This is a principle that doesn't just apply to fitness, success, or leadership. It applies to every area of life that demands development. We live in a world that celebrates ease, comfort, and convenience. We have apps to deliver food, shortcuts to avoid effort, and a culture that often promotes doing less while expecting more. But nothing of value grows in a place where you're not challenged. If you're not stretched, you're not strengthening. If you're not uncomfortable, you're not evolving. Comfort is the enemy of progress because it convinces you that survival is enough when you were built for something greater. Discomfort is a signal that something is being worked, shaped, transformed. Think of the process of physical growth. Muscles don't develop when they're relaxed. They grow under tension. They grow under pressure. They grow when pushed beyond their current limits. The same is true mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You grow when you face things you haven't faced before. You grow when you show up even when you don't feel like it. You grow when you do the hard things, not because they're fun, but because they're necessary. The reality is everything you want, confidence, discipline, resilience, result, lives on the other side of doing what's uncomfortable. People who grow consistently are not addicted to comfort. They're committed to their calling. They embrace the friction, knowing it's producing something valuable inside them. They're willing to wake up earlier, to confront their fears, to say no to distractions, to sacrifice temporary ease for long-term gain. They don't see discomfort as something to avoid. They see it as something to leverage. Because discomfort is a teacher, it reveals your limits, it shows you where your excuses live, it pushes you to ask better questions, it introduces you to the parts of yourself you didn't know existed, the strength, the grit, the drive, the clarity. And in those moments, when most people give up, the ones committed to growth dig deeper. You don't become great in your comfort zone. You don't become a better leader, a better thinker, a better human while playing small and safe. It's in the reps of discomfort that character is built. It's in the practice of showing up anyway that mental toughness is developed. And it's in the process of facing hard truths that transformation becomes possible. Most people want change, but few are willing to pay the price of discomfort. Growth demands more than wanting. It demands action in the face of resistance. So when you feel tired, stretched, challenged, that's not a sign you're failing. That's a sign you're growing. That's a signal you're in the right place. Because when you're doing the work no one sees, facing the friction no one celebrates, and pushing through the resistance no one understands, you're building something that can't be taken away from you. You're building depth. You're building strength. You're building the version of yourself capable of reaching the life you know you were meant for. Stop reacting. Start responding with purpose. This single shift in mindset separates those who live on emotional autopilot from those who lead themselves with clarity, strength, and conviction. Most people go through life reacting to everything. They react to criticism, to bad news, to stress, to failure, to the words of others, to their environment, to things they can't control. And every time they react, they give away their power. They allow temporary circumstances to dictate their long-term direction. But those who learn to respond with purpose reclaim that power. They stop being slaves to impulse and emotion, and they start becoming intentional architects of their own behavior. Reacting is instinctual. It's immediate. It's often emotional. It's your survival brain trying to protect you in the moment. But growth doesn't happen through reactivity. It happens through reflection, through pause, through calculated, purpose-driven choices. When you react, you give in to the noise, you speak without thinking, you quit without questioning, you assume without understanding, and over time, those impulsive decisions stack up, leading you further away from who you truly want to become. But when you respond, you take back control, you breathe, you assess, you weigh the moment against the mission, you step back and ask, what response aligns with the life I want to build? Responding with purpose doesn't mean suppressing emotion. It means leading it. It means you acknowledge how you feel, but you don't let feelings take the wheel. It means you can be angry, but you choose grace. It means you can be afraid, but you choose action. It means you can feel discouraged, but you choose to keep moving forward anyway. Responding is a discipline. It's a muscle. It grows stronger every time you choose to lead yourself instead of being led by the chaos around you. It's not easy, especially when the pressure is on, and your instincts scream louder than your values. But every time you respond from your highest self, instead of reacting from your lowest emotion, you elevate your life. Leaders are made in these moments. Not in titles or positions, but in the choice to respond rather than explode, to pause rather than panic, to speak with wisdom rather than react with ego. That's where real growth happens. That's where relationships are built, trust is earned, respect is cultivated, and results are forged. Because people follow those who are steady under pressure. People trust those who know how to hold the line when everything around them feels uncertain. And it all starts with mastering the gap between stimulus and response. The world will throw things at you that you didn't plan for. Betrayal, rejection, failure, disappointment. But what defines you is not what happens. It's how you handle it. Will you react in a way that mirrors the chaos, or will you respond in a way that reflects your purpose? Every situation, no matter how small, is an opportunity to practice intentional living. Every challenge is an invitation to step into your higher self, and the more you respond with clarity and calm, the more you build a life rooted in strength, not shaken by storms. Motivation fades, discipline builds legacy. That's the truth most people try to ignore because motivation feels good. It's the rush of energy after watching an inspiring video, the hype you get from a powerful speech, the fire that pushes you to start something new. But here's what no one tells you. That fire doesn't last. That surge will disappear. And when it does, what's left? What keeps you going when the music stops, when the crowd is gone, and when no one's watching? The answer is discipline. Discipline is what carries you when motivation runs out. It is the quiet engine of consistency, the daily decision to keep moving forward regardless of how you feel. People often wait for motivation to strike before they take action. They wait to feel ready. But those who truly succeed in life don't wait to feel. They commit to doing asterisk. They understand that action creates momentum. And they build routines that run whether they're excited or exhausted, whether it's sunny or stormy, whether they're praised or ignored. Discipline doesn't rely on emotion, it relies on choice. And every time you choose to follow through, even when it's inconvenient or uncomfortable, you build something far more powerful than hype. You build identity. You become the type of person who shows up no matter what. Discipline is the foundation of greatness. It's what separates the wishers from the warriors. It's what turns dreams into habits and habits into results. Every champion, every master, every high achiever became who they are not because they were always fired up, but because they were faithful to the process. They trained on the days they didn't feel like it. They practiced when no one was clapping. They worked in silence while the world was distracted by noise, and over time, that consistency compounded. That focus turned into mastery. That grit turned into greatness. What's powerful about discipline is that it gives you freedom. It sounds like a contradiction, but it's the truth. The more disciplined you are, the more control you gain over your time, your mind, your progress. You no longer rely on chance or mood swings to decide your actions. You live with structure, and structure creates space for results. It's the disciplined writer who finishes the book, the disciplined athlete who becomes elite, the disciplined leader who earns trust, the disciplined student who builds opportunity. It doesn't happen overnight, but it happens every night you show up when others quit. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. That's the power of discipline. It respects the long game. It understands that showing up 100 times with average effort beats showing up 5 times with incredible intensity. Discipline builds rhythm. Rhythm builds results. And results build legacy. Not the kind of legacy that flashes for a moment and fades, but the kind that echoes beyond your life. Because the impact you create through discipline outlives the emotions that got you started. It becomes who you are. One powerful decision can shift everything. It doesn't take a perfect plan or a perfect past. It takes a defining moment where you draw a line in the sand and choose a new direction with clarity and courage. Far too often, people wait for a major breakthrough, a big opportunity, or some external force to change their circumstances. But transformation doesn't begin outside. It begins inside. It begins the moment you decide, I will no longer live beneath my potential. I will no longer delay what I know I'm meant to do. I will no longer allow fear, doubt, or comfort to define me. That moment is not a feeling, it's a decision. A choice that refuses to go back, a shift that rewrites the script. Most people underestimate the power of decision. They confuse it with preference or desire. They say they want to be successful, focused, disciplined, but they haven't decided. A real decision eliminates other options. It removes the back door. It says, "This is who I am now," and then it acts accordingly. That one decision sets off a chain reaction, because once your identity shifts, your standards rise. And when your standards rise, your habits change, and when your habits change, your life begins to reflect a new level of purpose. Think about every person who has changed the course of their life, whether in fitness, business, mindset, or mission. It always started with one pivotal decision. A decision to wake up earlier, to cut out distractions, to forgive instead of hold on to pain, to pursue purpose instead of pleasure. It didn't start with having everything figured out. It started with a commitment they refused to break, a line they refused to cross again, a path they refused to abandon. This isn't about motivation. It's about resolve. Real decisions don't waver when it's hard. They don't collapse under pressure. They stand. They lead. They guide your behavior when your emotions are all over the place. That's the beauty of a true decision. It doesn't require perfect conditions to activate. It creates the conditions through consistency and conviction. You don't wait for your environment to validate your choice. You move forward and let the environment catch up to your momentum. Your life can pivot in a moment, not because the world changes, but because the minute you decide you are no longer willing to tolerate the old version of yourself, the minute you stop negotiating with your excuses, the minute you step into alignment with your deepest values and take action accordingly, everything shifts. The power of one decision is that it initiates a process far greater than itself. You don't have to see the whole path. You just have to commit to the first step with intensity and intention. So many people delay greatness waiting for clarity. But clarity often comes after commitment, not before it. You must decide before the path becomes obvious. You must believe before the results show up. That belief is forged in your decision, not just once, but every single day that you reaffirm it with discipline, direction, and action.